Hello. Thank you guys so much for clicking this podcast today. I really appreciate it. This is an exciting podcast. I've got my second in-person podcast today, and it's actually with TCT. You may have seen him on Twitter, and he's actually the co-founder of Adao and Summit. And they're actually bringing DAO applications to Cardano before anyone else. So it's going to be a very exciting podcast. On top of that, we're also going to be doing a couple giveaways in this podcast. We're going to have two separate giveaways. One is actually going to be in the middle of this podcast, and the second one is actually going to be at the end. So if you guys stay through the whole podcast, you'll actually be able to enter into two giveaways. And one of those is actually a rare bloom ticket giveaway. And that is actually access to the first and the largest Cardano event with over 40 plus projects signed up. We've got Charles Hoskinson, ADAO, MinSwap, DC Spark, and many other great companies building on Cardano. On top of that, the registration to vote actually ends on the 4th. However, I think this podcast is going to go out after that. So if you've already registered to vote, make sure you guys start voting on the 11th of August. And to do that, you're just going to download the Project Catalyst app and then use the QR code and pen that you actually used to, that you got when you registered. But just jump right into it. How are you doing today, TCT?
Good. I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. It's really awesome to be able to do this in person. I always think it's a more enjoyable experience for the audience and also more enjoyable for us.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm glad that we live close enough to do this.
Yeah, me as well. Really just to break the ice. What is a DAO for someone that's never heard of it before?
Yeah, so I think that word hinders DAOs a lot, right? Because it's such a huge spectrum. But basically, a DAO is really any group of people that are governing a system transparently and using blockchains to do so.
Awesome. So have there never been DAOs before blockchain? Do you think blockchain was the missing technology that we needed to allow DAOs to be what they are today?
I think it was. I think we've had groups like that for long before blockchain. But yeah, blockchain seems to be what has really unlocked their potential.
And is it just, this decentralized database that, is a public ledger that, you can actually look into every action that the DAO's taking and, every ADA that the DAO's spent or received? Is that really what, allows, DAOs to come to fruition in our society today?
Exactly. That's my feeling, is that the transparency is the biggest thing, right? We have this trusted, transparent ledger, as you said. So yeah, everything the DAO or the group does is not only verifiable before so on Cardano, but transparent.
So why are DAOs important, for the average person, or maybe even not for the average person? Let's say, a group of people, whether it be, something similar to a company, why are they
Right.
important?
Right. So even, and that's why I said that word could hinder DAOs a little bit, because even companies, right, or small groups of individuals, what this technology does is it removes not only the need to trust people that they're going to be honest, but they're not going to make human error, which are so common. So it removes human error from a lot of situations, and it removes trust.
Do you have any historical knowledge of, say DAOs before blockchain? Is this something that's new, or is this really just an evolution of previously existing systems?
Yeah, I would say it's a evolution, right? I would say that a lot of my academic friends, academics in ADA, would say that there's plenty of research you could point to that would suggest DAOs aren't a new thing.
Mhm.
And I would agree with that, but I think we haven't seen DAOs like this, right? Until blockchain, until smart contracts, and now I would say until smart contracts on Cardano.
Awesome. So what is ADAO?
Yeah,
And
so
and also what is its core mission?
right. So ADAO is pretty cool. ADAO is a DAO on Cardano. Last year, after the Alonzo fork, when Plutus was available, it was really a group of people, some like myself, who were researching DAOs on other chains, participating in them, and what we were doing was trying to figure out how to build them on Cardano. And natively, a lot of these things existed, like native scripts. A lot of Stakepool operators like yourself were familiar with and using native scripts, but nobody had built interfaces, right? And made it easy for a large group of people to use it together. So that's how it started. It was a few people who, were all passionate about it and started really researching into what do we need to build in order to enable DAOs on Cardano. And that's Adao's core mission. It grew quite a bit, and to this day, the core mission is to develop open source software that any project, any group, any DAO can use to govern their protocol, project, whatever on a blockchain on Cardano.
Awesome. So with that, one of your goals you mentioned there is actually to build a front end application for the average user to interact with the DAO. And with that, will there also be a front end application for let's say the creator of the DAO, the original creator, say to submit proposals or bring more people in?
Right. So a DAO platform has a lot of different users, right? And you're going to have users creating DAOs, and you're going to have a lot of times those same users and others participating in DAOs. So you'll be able to do both. People need to be able to create DAOs in a way that's understandable. Even to people who aren't familiar with reading or writing code, and then you'll have to be able to participate in them easily. View proposals, and not only proposals, but some of these proposals can be code changes. So understand what those changes mean and what will happen if they're executed.
Awesome. Yeah, I personally think that's very important because, when you start a new company and, let's say the company, is a DAO, it's not even a company, it's a decentralized autonomous organization. That's just one extra piece that your team is going to have to learn and focus more resources on. When if there was already an open sourced existing DAO platform that you could use, you could spend a lot more time focusing on, what you're good at, what is efficient for your company instead of the DAO aspect. So I definitely see, a lot of value there. How many, team members are in ADAO, and like, how did you guys, come together to build this?
Yeah, so ADAO fluctuates because it is a permissionless merit-based system. So started out with about 8 people, and now there's, well over a dozen what we call core contributors who are really in there every day, organizing the meetings, helping draft and edit proposals, and just, I think a few thousand Discord members and active supporters, contributors. So it's grown quite a bit.
What existing functionality have you guys already built that people can use today?
Well, so quite a bit. So right now, in last year in November, ADAO just for themselves put a DAO contract on chain, a very simple Plutus contract. So any developer is able to use that, mint tokens from it, and govern this contract. We also have another one that holds all the ADAO tokens. And so people can use these contracts, but you have to be a developer, right? You have to be somebody who develops on Cardano, and they don't have interfaces for them yet.
Okay. So you mentioned, this idea of governing that contract. Some, protocols, they have, many different smart contracts that offer different utility. So with DAOs, is there essentially one governance contract that governs the rest of the contracts in the ecosystem?
Yeah, sometimes. So for example, in ADAO, we have one governance contract, which is a Plutus contract that holds all those tokens. And then we have native script contracts, better known as multi-sig contracts within the DAO. You can call them sub-DAOs, different working groups in ADAO. So they have autonomy in their multi-sigs, right? But there's also this, like you said, main governing contract. And so all that is really modular. And you can have different Plutus contracts, different native script multi-sigs, and there's a million different ways you can configure them for what your intentions are.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned, your contracts are open source, and a lot of what you're working on is why? What is the importance of open source in this community?
Yeah, so not just with DAOs, but especially with DAOs, like the power that they have, right? It's given to them by this transparency. and this ability for everyone to know what's going on, participate. And that's how the best people, right, for these particular jobs are able to rise to the top. Um, you'll always see natural hierarchies, but the big difference in DAOs is that's not a gated position.
Okay. What are, some DAOs that you guys have worked with that people may know from the community?
Uh, Quite a few. Um, I'd hate to miss some, but all the protocols building on Cardano, uh, like Liquid, MinSwap, um, all these protocols, want to be community owned or governed. So to do that, they are interested in, right, building out the set of contracts and, like I said, even native script multisigs to do so. So quite a few. In ADAO, it's like I said, it's an open source community, so there's no business plan in ADAO. So all these communities and projects are welcome to come in, not only look at this code, join the meetings and direct where we're putting all this effort because they're the ones who are doing the work.
Awesome. Awesome. With the ADAO token, you mentioned you have this merit-based economy that rewards users for, essentially providing value back to ADAO. Are there any other utilities of the ADAO token, past, rewarding users for their merit?
Yeah. So we also build a lot of cool dApps in ADAO, and one of those is a staking portal. So right now, you can, participate in governance, but you can also stake these tokens. So in ADAO, we get a lot of tokens donated to us from other projects. There's a lot of projects that are created by people within ADAO using their open source infrastructure. So they'll allocate tokens to ADAO. So a lot of those tokens we'll vote on to use as rewards at things like the staking portal. So yeah, ADAO tokens, ADAO LP tokens, and there's a lot of different reward tokens. So yeah.
Awesome. Earlier you mentioned this idea of native scripts, which alludes to multi-sig wallets. Were you speaking about, the Roundtable version one when you were speaking about that, or is Roundtable version one, something separate with maybe some similarities? Can you explain what Roundtable V1 is and what utility that provides for, a DAO?
Yeah. So native scripts are something we've had on Cardano. You're probably familiar with them. And you can do a lot of things, mint tokens, mint NFTs, and do multi-signature transactions. So Roundtable is just really what we call the dApp that we host to interface with that. In Cardano, we have, we build these transactions off chain. So in Roundtable, it's a very decentralized way to do that because in the Roundtable app, it does everything in your browser, right? So you're building these transactions and then you can share that URL with somebody. They can open the dApp and they can choose to spin up a gun node. And it's just a button, a toggle switch, and you'll be able to now coordinate those transactions. So if you have a few friends, you'll be able to create a Roundtable wallet and then coordinate doing spending from a treasury.
It's awesome. So, in Cardano, one of the most unique things about it is Project Catalyst. It's a decentralized treasury with right now over 942 million ADA in it. And that ADA can actually be given to, ADAO or myself or people building value in this ecosystem. And as we mentioned earlier, there's a fund coming up very soon on 8/11. And there's a lot of great proposals in there. And fortunately, ADAO actually has a few proposals in there. Can you explain, what those proposals are and also, what value they're going to bring to Cardano?
Yeah, definitely. So, in ADAO, like I said, there's a lot of subgroups, working groups. They hold open meetings during the weeks. So they have a few proposals. One is an education proposal. There's a group that does a lot of work within ADAO called the Blockchain Learning Center. Um, David Baxter is actually the founder. A lot of people know him, and they have a proposal collaborating with ADAO to build a comprehensive DAO course, like the other ones he offers at the Blockchain Learning Center and the coffee shops. So that's one. And then we have a few developer proposals. We have a ADAO open source proposal to continue incentivizing all this open source infrastructure, but not only with ADAO tokens, with ADA. So we have a proposal for that, and we have a proposal to bring some improvements to Roundtable. We've been working really hard to allow staking from Roundtable. We want to be able to interact with marketplaces, and so to do that, we need not only code on our side in Roundtable, but upstream code changes. So to be able to incentivize that is a big deal.
And that proposal is called Roundtable V2, right?
Correct.
And then what are the names of the other two proposals?
Yeah,
There's
so
three total, right?
we also propose Plutus vesting DApp. Right now in Cardano, all these projects that are building and launching, they pay themselves and their team out with tokens, and they're vested. Right now, there's not an easy way to do that. We have to do it manually. And so not only a smart contract, but a DApp, an interface where you can easily dynamically vest these tokens, I think is something really important. So that's a proposal as well. And they're really easy to find because they all start with Adao. So you'll see there's actually a total of 5, 4 from the development working groups, and then 1 from the education. And you'll see a lot of people as co-proposers on those, right? Because it's made up of organizations, not just Adao, but Lido Nation, like I said, Blockchain Learning Center. So it's a really cool effort.
Yeah. For anyone watching who's interested in seeing, more of this utility being built out in the future, all you have to do is vote yes on their proposals. And, what's unique about Catalyst is you can vote yes on multiple proposals without, losing value that you're voting for one proposal. You can go through and vote for 50 or 2, and it will still mean the same amount of yeses relative to the amount of ADA that you have. You can also vote no on some proposals as well, and you can vote no or yes as many times as you want. So to continue, this is really just scratching the surface of everything you guys are working on. The next thing that is more recent is Summon. What is Summon?
Right. So Summon's another project from within Adao. Because like I said, Adao is an open source community, right? We incentivize this open source work with governance over Adao and Ada. But there's no business plan, right? This is for projects to build products around, right? Use this code. It's the infrastructure we all need. So Summon, like a lot of other projects, is a lot of contributors to Adao, building a platform on top of things like Agora and all this open source on-chain work that we've done.
So is it like the commercial arm for Adao in the same way that, IOG is the commercial arm for Cardano, where they develop the code?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people describe it like that. And I think it's important that, we do a lot of research and do a lot of experimenting almost with these organizational structures, right? DAOs, their limits today are legal jurisdictions, right? Laws that apply. So really, setting the ground rules for that is really important. And yeah, we definitely have taken inspiration from the way that, Cardano Foundation and, like you said, IOG have begun to do that.
Yeah. So how does Summon fit into the Adao ecosystem? How do they collide?
Yeah, well, they work together well because anything needed for Summon or any other DAO platform has been built out by Adao, right? So, it's the same developers that have been collaborating with other teams like Liquid Labs, M Labs, and building this infrastructure. So we know it very well. And we've been really building this along the way. So they collaborate very well with each other. It also gives us this giant group of, they're more than advisors, right? It's these DAOs that not only have a say in Summon because they hold the governance token, but are actively contributing to it. So now we can incentivize more open source work, even with Summon, the same way Adao's doing it.
Okay. Do the core missions and goals of Summon align with Adao, or are you guys building out different features? What is the core mission of Summon really to start, and then how does that align with the core mission of Adao?
Right. No, they align beautifully. And that's, like I said, right? Adao, it builds open source work, and the way that it benefits is by people valuing that, right? Just as much as they do. So with, companies like Summon, or DAOs like the Summon DAO, uh, them needing ADAO and valuing this open source work is a revolving door, right? It's beneficial for both and the wider ecosystem.
So how far along is Summon, with those goals? Because, I first heard about it in consensus,
Right.
So where are you guys at?
Yeah, no, we're ready for DAOs on Cardano. We've been doing a lot of testing on testnet, um, talking to other groups that are actively building DAOs, like Snapbrilla, right? Making sure that what we're doing on testnet works for them, getting the feedback. And so we're planning to launch Q4, but we just started the ISPO. We're going to do the public community sale in August 15th. So we're ready. We're really excited. We've been working a long time, so it feels like time.
So the ISO is already going on right now for Summon?
It starts tomorrow, actually.
Starts tomorrow.
And
Okay.
it's hosted by the Adao Stakepool. So if you delegate to the Adao pool, ADAO, you will, starting tomorrow, earn Summon tokens.
Awesome. What is the fee percentage?
It's 99.
99.
So
Okay.
we're going to do our best to work with other Stakepool operators to offer Summon tokens not only through the Adao pool. I know we saw last year, like when ISPOs became a thing, there was a lot of concerns because it can very much centralize stake. So it's important, like, there's a lot of token distribution platforms popping up, a lot of stake pool operators that they want to offer things other than ADA to their delegators. So yeah, working with those stake pool operators to offer Summon tokens through their pools too, I think is really important if we're going to have a successful ISPO.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, I think, from a selfish standpoint, it's still good for Summon because you guys are bringing in, more users. More users have your token. Your DAO's more decentralized because you
Right.
spread those tokens among thousands of users instead of just the delegates to a DAO. You guys also mentioned that you have a public sale coming up soon. What's the date on that? And, really, what does it entail,
Yeah.
for the user?
So it's August 15th. We're actually going to split it up into 3 events. But starting August 15th, anyone in the Cardano community with a Cardano wallet can go to the site, connect their wallet, and participate. We actually, today are going to announce that we created a non-custodial smart contract system, not only for the sale, but to open source for any development teams and to offer through Summon. So that's what we're going to be using. And the first event is going to be pretty cool because we quote unquote gated it, but it's something everybody in the ecosystem probably has, which is either one ADAO token, one MinSwap token, or one liquid token. So if you have one of those in your participating wallet, you'll be able to agree to terms, connect your wallet, and participate in Summon token sale.
Awesome. So if you guys have made it to this part of the video, we really appreciate you. To enter the first giveaway for the Rare Bloom ticket, remember we have ADAO tokens coming at the later end of this video. All you have to do is type in ADAO, all caps, at Rare Bloom in the comment section down below. We'd also really appreciate if you gave us a like and shared this with your friends. Is there going to be a staking portal through Summon, or is that more of an ADAO thing?
Yeah, so the ADAO will always have its own staking portal, whether it hosts it how it does now or through Summon. But what Summon will offer is for any project to just create their own with no code, right? So right now, if developers wanted to create a staking portal, they can go to the ADAO GitHub, come in the server, figure out how to do it, right? Create their own interface. But through Summon, they'll be able to just set it up with a few clicks and have their own project staking portal.
And that project staking portal, is that going to be through the Summon application, or can that be on the existing project's website?
Right. So that's a really good question. Yeah. So that's why it's so important to work with communities like ADAO, right? Because you need to think about things like this and how we're storing data. So no, Summon won't gate a project in, right, to using their interface. So they'll be able to plug in to the back end, right, to the contracts, and use the Summon stack to host things on their interface.
Awesome. I mean, you just mentioned a very useful feature for many projects that I didn't even know that you guys were going to include. And it made me realize that we should dive into those features a little bit more. Let's say, Summon, it's built. What features does that offer to projects similar to how they can create a staking portal and allow their users to stake? What other features and values, are projects going to be able to, receive and utilize, Summon for?
Right. So really everything, right? As project creators, right, you'll be able to mint a token or use an existing policy,
Hmm.
set up your parameters for governance. There's a lot of parameters, right? You need to decide on things like what makes a proposal valid, what gets it to the voting stage, how are effects executed. Um, so quite a bit. And as users, you'll be able to easily see and interact with all these DAOs, right? You'll be able to see all the DAOs, see where their tokens are, see how many there are, see what proposals are live, what people are talking about, discussing. And my favorite is like, what are these effect modules, right? So as projects, we have treasuries. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll delegate that to a stake pool, use it for things like pledge to create a stake pool, put it into positions in DeFi. So being able to leverage that through the platform and then vote on those things and have them automatically executed is, I think, what's going to be most exciting. And that's something that, we can build as new protocols come and new strategies, get invented.
Awesome. Earlier when we were talking about the ISO, you mentioned that you're actually going to be doing, or not the ISO, the public sale. You mentioned
Mhm.
that you're going to be doing this through a smart contract.
Right.
Can American users, participate in this sale?
Well, so I am not an attorney. We have a very great attorney in Summon, uh, but there are terms in service, right?
Mhm.
So you can go to the website, you can read through that, but you have to take responsibility and check with your own jurisdiction because they are all different.
Yeah.
Summon Association is operated out of Switzerland, just like Cardano Foundation.
Mhm.
So it shouldn't be an issue, but you do have to check with your local jurisdiction.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's great advice for most things. You should check with your own accountant. You should check with your own, lawyer before you make any financial decisions, because as he mentioned, all of these jurisdictions are different. And, a lot of time crypto's in a gray area and, these laws aren't written out and you need to find somebody who really understands them very well because they change very often. So be careful when participating in anything, whether it be a public sale or ISO relative to the jurisdiction that you're in, because you don't want to hurt yourself. Um, so, moving forward, do you guys have any plans for, Summon cross chain?
In the future, a lot of side chains are building on Cardano.
Hmm.
We've already seen Mokamada. We're seeing things like Orbis. So yeah, we definitely work with these teams, talk to them, um, and are excited about building cross-chain DAOs. So that's definitely in the future.
Awesome. So, speaking more about the Summon token, what utility do users receive from the Summon token itself?
Right. So the summon token is a true governance token. So the same tools that summon offers will be used to govern the summon DAO, the platform itself. So users will be able to do everything, right? From adjust parameters of the platform, right? Fees. So, you know, that's the beauty of these tools we're building. These tokens can automatically be used for governance, and you don't have to trust a human. Like I said, you can make human error be untrustworthy to carry them out.
So, can any user, that say buys up Summon tokens, can they, submit a proposal as far as the direction in the future of the application?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, moving back into really where we were at in the beginning of the podcast, speaking specifically about DAOs, what are the cons of DAOs? Because this really is a new thing for a lot of people, and traditionally we have these centralized organizations with a leader. You know, because you've already created now two DAOs and you've worked with people within a DAO for a long time. What are the cons there?
Yeah. Uh, the biggest one for me is the legal gray area that you mentioned, right? Um, we need to really shape these laws, right, that are being made to remove that gray area. So we need to work with organizations like LexDAO and these other DAO advocacy organizations um, to make sure DAOs understand projects, any project understands this. So that's another thing, being able to offer not legal advice, but regulatory guidance, right, through the Summon platform. Being able to see what other DAOs use um, and compare it to what you're trying to do and have those basic documents available, I think is really important. We see that on other blockchains where you can very quickly create a DAO LLC through an already established entity like LexDAO. So offering that through the platform is really important. And I think it's going to help a lot of projects avoid legal issues.
Yeah, yeah, I do think the legal part is very, very hard to understand and also very expensive, and it really it adds a barrier to entry,
Right.
for the average person. Um, Cardano itself is a DAO. We can vote right now on funding projects. Eventually, we'll be able to vote on, parameter changes. Changes that change the amount of staking rewards you're getting, that change the amount of incentive for stake pools, that change the fee structure. These protocol parameters are very important, and that's the ability to change those parameters was to limit hard forks on Cardano. But Cardano is still early in its stages of being a DAO. As I mentioned, you can't even vote on those parameters yet, and there honestly are a lot of issues there. There's not a huge voter turnout. That's why I'm trying to get you guys all to register. Um, are any of the tools that you guys are building for a DAO, could those be used for Cardano's DAO itself?
They certainly could. I think that uh, governance of the base layer protocol and governance of these protocols we build on top of it are very different. It's all very nuanced, but absolutely. And I think a place to start is Catalyst, right? I think that's a great place to run experiments and try out these different forms of governance. So yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned there's nuance between these layer two applications and the layer one relative to governance. What is that nuance? From my perspective, it seems very similar. You essentially have a protocol. Users own a token of that protocol, and they all vote to fund the future direction or maybe change that direction. How does the layer two DAO infrastructure really differ from the layer one? Because it seems honestly to me that the DAO structure on Cardano currently is lacking.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And generally, like you said, it is the same, right? You're making decisions over all of these things, but the outcome you want is very different. Your intentions are different. So that's what, you know, I think is missed a lot. I think we have to always go back to first principles about what we are attempting, what our intentions are, and our core goal here. And that's what is very nuanced or different. So for Cardano, that intention has to be the layer one protocol, keeping it trustless, decentralized, making it easy for developers. And then in other DAOs, it could be something very different, like buying the best and most expensive NFTs, making the best investments in DeFi. Uh, so I think it's really great how and important how it is split up, right? Where we have a side chain where we experiment with these treasury funds and we
Mhm.
keep the base parameters separate.
Yeah, speaking more about Cardano, you guys obviously have an excellent team and you're adding a lot of value to Cardano. Why did you choose this blockchain, say over, Ethereum or any of the other existing blockchains? Because you mentioned your interest in, moving forward to cross chain. So obviously, you believe in interoperability, as most of us do here. But why Cardano?
Definitely. Yeah, no, I love a lot of blockchains. But Cardano makes the most sense from a security point, building financial applications, building a real global base layer, right? Um, so yeah, I think it's going to be very important, and there's always going to be DAOs on other chains, but Cardano is, really what makes the most sense for a solid, like I said, decentralized foundation.
Have you guys spoken to, say IOG or CF about any of the DAO technology you're working on and, proposed, helping them or working with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's a lot of people, even from CF. I know personally of a member or two who I would consider a core contributor to ADAO. I think, organization is hard in any entity. And I think, ADAO, CF, um, any other group, that's what, we're doing here. We're trying to make better organizational structures, right? And I think we are steadily progressing.
That's very exciting. Honestly, we've covered all of my questions in this podcast. I know you guys are coming to the Rare Bloom. So if
Yeah.
you want to meet the ADAO team in person, make sure you stop by the Rare Bloom in October on the 14th and 15th. If you guys enjoyed the video so far, make sure you click that like button, comment down below. Also, if you skip to the end for the giveaway, you missed the Rare Bloom ticket giveaway in the middle. So go find that. If you guys do want to actually enter another giveaway, two special ones in this podcast today, all you have to do is join the Discord server link down below, fill out the CAPTCHA, and then go to the giveaway tab and react with the confetti symbol. And then you'll be entered into the ADAO token giveaway, which is very exciting. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you like it. I think I already said that, but is there any questions, or statements or comments that we didn't go over today that you would like to include here?
No, I think, if there are any questions that people have, please feel encouraged to join the Discord, the GitHub, get involved in ADAO. And yeah, I'm really excited. Come see me. We're going to have a big DAO chill zone at Rare Bloom with the Rare guys, with ADAO Summon. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, it's honestly going to be a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed this podcast. I've met him in person multiple times at this point, and every single time, I obviously learned something about the infrastructure that's being built on Cardano. In my opinion, ADAO is right there up there with the best of them. They're working with the best. They have all of the most up to date knowledge on smart contracts, on existing software that you can use, and yeah, well, thank you for educating us and giving us your time today. And I look forward to all of the future things with ADAO and Summit.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I always enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, me as well. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, it was the Cardano Aura. We do these podcasts pretty often, so make sure you click the playlist. We did one with Steven from Buy Finance last week. We have many of these podcasts coming out. You can also listen to these on mobile as well. We have it on Spotify, Apple Music, all of the traditional podcasting apps. So thank you guys. Love you. Thanks for tuning into the videos, and I hope you have a good day.